Politics podcast is brought to you, as always, by TakePoliticsSeriously.com. That's where you can support the show. Please go ahead and head on over there. Of course, my card game, The Contender, the game of presidential debate, you can get that at thecontender.us. And my free political newsletter. You would get that, which comes into your inbox 5 days a week, 5 stories a day, mostly gifts, a few hot takes. But what do you say we just start the show off a little differently? Let's go ahead and move into a brand new segment that I like to call Political Theater. At Real Donald Trump. If anyone is looking for a good lawyer, I would strongly suggest that you don't retain the services of Michael Cohen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome! Oh, my good God. My God. This is the Politics program. My name is Justin Robert Young. Holy shit, do we have a lot to talk about today? Fire! Woo, 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 fire. That's what everything is on right now. My background is all red because we are on fire, my friends. Everything is aflame. Nothing will ever be the same again. A consequential day in political history yesterday. A lot of things are happening. A lot of pieces are moving. A lot of realities are being set ablaze so that we might have new growth below it. We're going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about Michael Cohen. We're going to talk about Paul Manafort. We're going to talk about Duncan Hunter. We're going to talk about Molly Tibbetts. We're even going to talk about one of our old friends from 2016 making his way back into the political ring. All that plus a pole dance and but your emails. But before we do anything, let's just start digging in. If you want, I did an emergency podcast yesterday, wherein I spoke about all this stuff as it was breaking, as the news was happening. So we got a little bit more of a nuanced idea of not only what the reaction is from the White House for these stories, but also I have some educated guesses as to where they are going to go from here. But here's the big news. Michael Cohen has flipped. We thought he might flip. As soon as he hired Lanny Davis, you kind of got the sense that he was going to flip, but this is it. This is the real deal, Holyfield. He goes, officially makes a deal, a plea deal, and walks into court yesterday and officially pleads. This is the story here. Dateline Washington. President Donald Trump's former personal lawyer has pled guilty to campaign finance violations, and his former campaign chairman convicted for financial fraud, raising questions about the president's own legal jeopardy. Most damaging to Trump were statements by his longtime attorney and fixer Michael Cohen, who pled guilty in New York, saying he and Trump had arranged the payment of hush money to porn star Stormy Daniels and a former Playboy model to influence the election. Trump tried to distance himself, mostly ignoring the back-to-back blows at a campaign rally in Virginia, declaring that his administration was still winning. Now, that did not hold up until this morning, by the way. So Donald Trump had to face a crowd yesterday. Granted, it's a Trump crowd, so no one was, I don't think anybody was screaming, "Answer! Answer the charges, you fraud!" Nobody was saying that. But his patience did not last until Twitter this morning. Of course, the political theater that I read earlier today was his first tweet. But let's read the rest of them. "I feel very badly for Paul Manafort and his wonderful family. Quote, unquote, justice took a 12-year-old tax case, among other things, applied tremendous pressure to him, and unlike Michael Cohen, he refused to, quote, unquote, make up stories in order to get a, quote, unquote, deal. Such respect for a brave man. A large number of the counts, I'm going to add editorially, against Manafort, 10, could not be decided in the Manafort case. Witch hunt. He then got to Michael Cohen. Again, a man for whom said was a great man at a certain point, said he had a great family, was tremendously loyal, somebody that absolutely has been on Team Trump. We saw some cracks in the facade as Cohen's office was raided. We've seen Giuliani distance himself from Cohen in the recent weeks. But this is the first time that Donald Trump unloaded on Cohen this morning. Michael Cohen pled guilty to 2 counts of campaign finance violations that are not a crime. President Obama had a big campaign finance violation, and it was easily settled. And that's pretty much all he said today. And then he had this weird video 2 hours ago. This is just him apparently doing a vlog on the White House lawn. Let's just listen to this.
Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats want to abolish the brave men and women of ICE. What I want to do is abolish the killers in ISIS. And you know who's going to win? We are.
He knows that like ICE and ISIS aren't moving on. Cohen flipping. Here's where I will agree with our president. No one's getting impeached for campaign finance violations. I'm going to let y'all know that right now. This ain't about what Cohen said. This is about what Cohen could say. From the very beginning, let's, again, every once in a while, specifically when shit is hot, we got to pull back. Let's get back to the meta conversation, because political speech is like McDonald's French fries, man. Like it goes bad and it changes very fast. So let's understand what we have on our plates here. Donald Trump could get impeached, which is a political decision, for being proven to have colluded with Russia. So let's say charitably, the way that would probably be defined is that I think we now universally kind of agree that Russia hacked the DNC's emails and then released them via WikiLeaks and DC Leaks. If that was either an attack ordered by Donald Trump or the Russians coordinated with Donald Trump to maximize the effect of those emails. And so, again, we are not looking at whether or not the emails were timed. You have to look at whether or not Donald Trump organized with the Russians the strategic release and coordinating actions by the Trump campaign to affect the election. So you need to prove that, or you need to prove obstruction of justice. I have always thought that obstruction of justice was probably going to be the easier thing to prove. Donald Trump is a political novice, and was certainly a presidenting novice as he first got into the office. there are probably mistakes that were made that could be made into bigger issues. So, why Cohen matters is if Donald Trump was in a room talking to somebody who was talking to somebody else about how to coordinate the release and exploitation of fruit of the poison tree in these Russian hacked emails, Cohen's going to be a motherfucker who's likely in that room. Because when Donald Trump needed to do dirt, he called Cohen. Cohen was that guy. Cohen's an operator who ain't willing to be squeamish, or isn't going to be squeamish when it comes to getting his hands dirty. Now, when we get to the campaign stuff, paying off Stormy Daniels, paying off Karen McDougal, look, I know it is shady. It may or may not be illegal on in a campaign finance violation. But nobody is getting impeached for campaign finance violations. It's just not happening. It's not. Like, if you want to fight on that, if you want to make a mess on that, makes sense. You can certainly, it's going to be a big, loud distraction. It is going to be a toddler with a drum. But no one's getting impeached. No one's getting impeached because Donald Trump paid off Stormy Daniels. I've told you this from the get-go. So now Lanny Davis, who's Michael Cohen's lawyer, former Clinton lawyer, he is very much like Michael Avenatti in that he is well-versed in the political theater. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Yoral Davis. Well-versed in political theater. He is going to be somebody that makes as big of a deal about this as he can, and he did this morning, including hinting on television that Michael Cohen may indeed know about a coordination between Russia and the Trump administration. But I'm going to say this to my Trump fans, my Trump trainers. Woo-woo. The Trump train's got no brakes. I'm going to tell y'all, you can't write this off. This is not something that you can just yada, yada, yada. Michael Cohen's a real liability, specifically since this is going to be worked into the midterms. We're going to get to the midterms in a second. But let's also talk about Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort faced 18 counts. He was found guilty on 8. 10 of them were a mistrial. Let's go ahead and read from the Washington Post. This is an article by Matt Zapotowski, Zinboy, Tom Jackson, and Devlin Barrett. Jury found Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort guilty Tuesday on tax and bank fraud charges, a major, if not complete, victory for Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III as he continues to investigate the president's associates. The jury convicted Manafort on 8 of 18 counts against him and said it was deadlocked on the other 10. U.S. District Judge T.S. Eliot III declared a mistrial on those charges. Wearing a black suit. Goddamn, I love it when people do that. I love also, this is my favorite. Oh my God. I love whenever there's like a big trial because this is always so dramatic, but kind of also totally useless. Wearing a black suit, Manafort stood impassively, his hands folded in front of him, and showed little reaction as the clerks read the word guilty 8 times. As through most of the 3-week trial in Alexandria, Virginia, Manafort, 69, nice, showed no emotion as he looked at the 6 women and 6 men who convicted him. Now, I just love, is I was also reading, because this is all that was coming out immediately once the verdict hit, that you read shit like Manafort looked down and then to the right impassionately. It's like, what the fuck? Like what does that really tell us? And look, I'm not blaming these reporters. I've written that shit before. Because like when you're covering, here's the dirty secret. A trial's kind of fucking boring. Like, the news is big. The trial's fucking boring. It's really boring. It is, at the end of the day, a press release. Paul Manafort found guilty. Bleep, blop, bloop, right? But you got to tell the story. And sometimes there's big expressive. Like, if Paul Manafort got up and did a cartwheel, that would be like, oh, shit. All right, maybe that tells us something about Paul Manafort. And there was even a little note, I don't know if it's in this article, but I read in another article about how he winked at his wife on the way out. But yeah, wearing a black suit, Manafort stood impassively. I love it. As opposed to, like, passively standing. His hands folded in front of him. As opposed to his hands folded behind his head. As if to say, hey, dog, I ain't got no worries in the world. Paul Manafort's a dirty dog. I will tell you that. Paul Manafort's been involved with some shady fucking people for a long fucking time. He has taken that work that a lot of people pass up because it is for shady people and it will affect how you are viewed back here in these good old United States. He has cheated on his taxes, and then he got caught up in a gigantic political scandal that exposed all of it. So, that's my Paul Manafort take. We've talked a lot about that in the past. Two things I want to get to. And number one. Will Trump pardon Manafort? Because Manafort he is a 70-year-old man. Oh, I'm sorry, 69. Nice. With the years he is looking at that he was convicted for, this might be a life sentence. He might die in prison. That's some heavy shit. There is now a question of whether or not he will now cooperate with the Mueller investigation so he can have some of that time knocked off. Or he can serve it in a way that would not almost assuredly mean that he dies behind bars. Now, on the other hand, and let's also read back to Donald Trump's tweets today, that Paul Manafort has a wonderful family and that he was railroaded with some old cases, but he is brave enough to not break and make up stories for a deal. We could be looking at a Manafort pardon. If we get a Manafort pardon, for which Chuck Schumer has already come out and said, you better not, man, we're going to see some fucking fireworks. We are going to see some for real fireworks. This is the kind of stuff that will test the resolve of GOP congressfolk who hate Donald Trump. In fact, we've already seen, did somebody forget their mittens? The almost assuredly Senator-elect from Utah, Mitt Romney, make the case that we do live in a nation of laws, and the fact that criminals were brought to justice was something that he was very excited about. In fact, let's go ahead and read from the Mitt right now. The events over the last 24 hours confirm that conduct by highly placed individuals was both dishonorable and illegal. It also confirmed that my faith in our justice system and my conviction that we are a nation committed to the rule of law. That kind of shit will only become louder as, if Manafort is pardoned. So, and by Manafort is pardoned, I mean Manafort is pardoned right now. What do you say we do it right now? What do you say we pardon Manafort at this Vogue party? Will we be the life of the whole party? Barking Dog says it'll be near the end of his stream after the heat is off. Well, no. If the deal is you got to pardon me now or I'm going to cooperate with Manafort, with Mueller, that might be a gots to pardon situation. Now, I think he could survive it. Ninja Steve says, he might as well step down if he does it. I don't think it's there. But would it be rocky road? But now let's talk about some interesting news for the Trump team. The midterms. Honest question. YouTube viewers, if y'all want to throw this in the comments, I want to see this in the chat right now. Do you think if this midterm election doesn't become about what Trump has done, but focuses almost primarily, not about Kavanaugh, not about Helsinki, not about the travel ban, but becomes primarily about one thing? Now, it might involve those other stuff, but it has one point. We need to impeach this asshole now. We got to impeach him now. Who does that motivate more? Democrats or Republicans? Does that help or hurt? Wave watch. Because here's my thought. Right now, by any available metric, we are seeing tremendous support from Democrats for their campaigns. There is a reason why the Republican majority might get swallowed by a wave. But if you have an equally fired up Republican side, for which I believe we will see a fired up GOP side if the issue is we're getting a Republican, if we're getting Trump out of office. We'll see. Ninja Steve says, I haven't seen leading Dems out there pushing the impeachment word yet. It's been 12 hours. Like, wait. We will see. And we will see if what people are talking about if he pardons Manafort. Because at some point, the Democrats, if Trump keeps becoming a habitual line stepper, someone's going to snap. Someone's going to start screaming impeachment. And by the way, it's probably going to be a motherfucker that's running for president in 2020. Put that one in the bank. The first person to scream, I'll say it when everybody else is afraid to, we need to impeach him now, is going to be somebody who's going to pay off that heat trying to run for president in 2020. Of course, then amongst all the news, we had shocking a video from Omarosa. In fact, you want to know what? Let's go ahead and find that. Let's find let's find this. Amongst all this stuff is happening, and we still have a bunch of stuff to get to. Duncan Hunter, Molly Tibbetts. But this was all breaking yesterday, and amongst all of it, Omarosa was going to be on Hardball, and she was going to reveal bombshell video of Michael Cohen. Now, up to this point, this has all been audio recordings or tapes. Oh my God, with the tapes thing, everybody keeps talking about the tapes. Omarosa's got tapes. She's got fucking recordings. Why do we call MP4s tapes? They're not tapes. Stop calling them tapes. They're recordings. Oh, you think she had a tape for this Cohen thing? Yeah, no, I'm sure she had a real fucking camera mount. Whatever. This is pedantic. Here is the hardcore, you have to see it to believe it video from Omarosa last night on Hardball.
Last week, it was reported that you have extensive stash, in fact, of video, emails, and other forms of documentation, emails and all sorts. Tonight, you've shared. Let's take a look at one of this video. It shows Michael Cohen boarding Donald Trump's plane in September of 2016, a pivotal time in the campaign. Let's watch.
Michael Cohen. You're broken my video.
My number one photographer, man.
You were on my video, just so you know. Now I gotta stalk you.
For audio listeners, Michael Cohen, now a cooperating witness. That was him, Michael Cohen, boarding Donald Trump's plane and playfully bantering with Omarosa. I know that a lot of this is shocking. Let's go ahead and play it for you one more time just so you can process it. This is shocking video from MSNBC last night. Omarosa, who is definitely not clinging to literally the last embers of any kind of media availability that would help push her book, Unhinged, available now on Amazon and all book retailers. Shocking video from MSNBC last night. Let's play it.
You're broken my video.
By the way, for audio listeners, Michael Cohen gives a thumbs up as he's walking up the steps into the plane. Omarosa is already in the plane.
My number one photographer, man.
You were.
Now they playfully banter back, and Michael Cohen smiles widely and says, "Ha ha ha, my number one stalker." Let's get. This is a key element of this video. Let's make sure that we listen very clearly here.
On my video, just so you know.
See, she says to him, "You're on my video, just so you know."
Now I gotta stalk you.
And now she has to stalk him into the plane. There are now other people around Michael Cohen as he makes his way into the plane.
Michael, say bye.
She then says, "Michael, say bye." Oh, my God, you guys. Oh, my God. This is taken during September of the campaign. I know. Please take a moment if you need to pause this podcast so you can wrap your head around exactly what we saw. Also, please email me if that makes any sense. Why are we still putting Omarosa on television? I think she's out of gas, right? I mean, we're out of gas at this point if you're literally just showing home movies of your big election vacation. But for real, guys, take politics seriously. Take politics seriously.com. Here is something that's a fairly big deal. That's a fair point. Waffleophagus makes the point that she is being put on television because she is indeed running for president. Non-Trump news. Republican Duncan Hunter and his wife indicted on use of campaign funds for personal expenses. This is from CNN. Republican Congressman Duncan Hunter and his wife Margaret routinely and illegally use campaign funds to pay personal bills, both big and small, from luxury vacations to kids' school lunches and delinquent family dentistry bills, including to a stinging 47-page indictment unsealed on Tuesday. Federal prosecutors contend that the Hunters repeatedly misrepresented what their expenses were for. In one instance, buying personal clothing on a golf course so that the purchase could be falsely reported to the treasurer as balls for the wounded warriors. The congressman has insisted that his wife be named his paid campaign manager over the objections of his treasurer because, according to the document, he said the family needed, quote, the extra money that would come from her salary. The Hunters overdrew their personal bank accounts more than 1,100 times in a 7-year period, according to the indictment, resulting in $37,761 in overdraft and insufficient funds bank fees. Guys, that ain't just what they took out. That's just what they cost themselves in motherfucking bank fees. By virtues of these delinquencies, reads the indictment, as well as notification of outstanding debts and overdue payments from their children's school, the family, dentist, and other creditors, the Hunters knew that many of their desired purchases could only be made using campaign funds. Woo! A spokesman for the U.S. Attorney's Office said the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California and the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. reviewed and rejected Mr. Hunter's complaints. The prosecutors attended the event at the invitation of the Secret Service. The Secret Service for many years has routinely invited prosecutors to attend events to protect those So as you might imagine, Hunter is now saying that this is a politically motivated attempt to hand his district. Because, by the way, he's up for election in November, to hand his district to the Democrats. He has been removed from all of his committees in Congress. This, according to a statement by Paul Ryan, the Republican leadership. Which, by the way, Paul Ryan, is there a happier man in Washington than Paul Ryan? Paul Ryan should just walk around Washington, D.C., and whenever anybody says anything to him, he should just exclusively respond to them back with, good luck with all that. Oh, Representative Hunter? Good luck with all that. Paul Mann, good luck with Michael Cohen. Good luck with Donald Trump. Good luck with all the wave. Good luck with all that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep my splits as I run around the room. I'm going to be busy doing CrossFit wodes from now until Election Day, at which point I'm going to climb aboard a gilded Zeppelin and fly far, far away from this shit show. I had somebody in my Twitter mentions yesterday that was like, oh, fuck Paul Ryan for not doing anything. And I'm like, now, whatever you think about Paul Ryan, let me ask you this. How hard would you bust your ass in the last 2 months of a job for a boss you fucking hate? Let me know. Go ahead and let me know how hard you would work in the last 2 months of your job when you've already announced that you're leaving for a boss that you fucking hate. Now, yesterday had news for everybody. Obviously, liberals and Democrats, blue teamers, very thrilled by the fact that Donald Trump is now seemingly in more hot water. But, you know, the conservatives got something that they could talk about, too. Molly Tibbetts was an Iowa student. She was murdered. And police revealed yesterday that the suspect was Christian, I guess it is just Christian Rivera, who is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. Christian Behen Rivera, this is a story from Fox News, Elizabeth Zawertz. Christian Behen Rivera was apprehended more than a month after the 20-year-old University of Iowa student disappeared. Rivera is 24 years old. Tibbetts was last seen jogging on July 18th near Brooklyn, Iowa, in Pashewick County, where Rivera lives. The body believed to be Molly Tibbetts was discovered earlier Tuesday, and Rivera led authorities to the location, Ron said, adding that her body was found hidden in a cornfield beneath several stalks. I don't want to be any more flippant about this than I already have been. I think that anytime that anybody is murdered, it should be taken seriously, because you have to understand that, you know, look, there's a family that is pain, and they are probably reading and watching more of this coverage than they should. So as much as this is being made into a political football, I'm going to prefer to, you know, beyond my initial barb, kind of stay away from it. Obviously, murders and crimes committed by people who are in America illegally are something that is a hot-button issue, as illegal immigration has continued to become something that is a big issue in this country. We are a fairly large country. A lot of people get murdered. A lot of people get murdered for a lot of different reasons. I can understand where this is a political point of view, and I can understand where let me put it this way. I don't want to denigrate the fact that a young woman was murdered, a young promising life was snuffed out. I don't want to make that a thing. I don't want to be flippant about it. And I think there's a reason why people want to talk about it. And I don't want to discount that. I'm just saying everybody got a talking point. And that's about it. Here's something I do want to talk about a lot more. One of our favorites. One of our favorites is back. Baby! Oh, yeah. Oh, man, what's that? Y'all smell that? Y'all smell? God damn, that's fragrant. That's some dank. Who's blowing that smoke? Holy shit. Who's stepping on the gas? Somebody's got some fragrant herb. Oh my God. Well, this explains it. Gary Johnson has jumped into the New Mexico Senate race. Yes, the Kush is still too loud to silence You can't silence it because the kush is too loud. This from the Daily Beast. The ex-governor and 2016 Libertarian presidential nominee tweeted an ad on Tuesday, seemingly announcing his bid. We will play it now for you in its entirety.
He paid his way through college as a handyman, growing that small business into the largest construction company in the state with 1,000 employees and a reputation for ethical behavior. He's an Ironman triathlete, an avid cyclist and outdoorsman, an adventurer who summited Mount Everest with frostbitten toes and a leg still healing from a recent break. During his 2 terms as governor, he did what people in office rarely do. He kept his word. He vetoed wasteful spending 750 times, cut taxes 14 times, reduced the size of state government through better management instead of layoffs. He left the people of his state with hundreds of miles of new highways, new schools and bridges, improved state services, a balanced budget, and $1 billion surplus, all without raising taxes a penny. He's fiscally conservative and socially cool. GQ magazine.
Come on, get out of here. Let's play that part one more time. Fiscally conservative.
And socially cool.
Yeah! Light up a fatty for this pimp daddy. Gary Johnson's in the house. And most importantly, if I'm running for Senate in New Mexico, nobody gives a fuck where Aleppo is. Oh, excuse me. Is Aleppo in New Mexico? No? Well, then nobody gives a fuck.
GQ magazine described him as absurdly honest and smart. Gary Johnson isn't the norm in politics. He's the future.
You know what Gary Johnson will do in the Senate, because you know Gary Johnson.
All right, Gary Johnson, fiercely independent, is the text up there on the screen. Can we play just one more time? Just because I'm so in love with it. Here we go. Now, if you were to describe Gary Johnson, how would you describe him?
He's fiscally conservative and socially cool.
Yeah, you know what that means. Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog. I wonder how he'll do, though. I do. Yeah, he's socially conservative and fiscally dank. I do wonder, if he has a shot. I guess, there is one way that we could find out. Oh, yeah. And that's to talk about data journalism the only way that we know how at the Politicsx podcast. Shout out to presidential historian Cardi B as we bring you these.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Dance, 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 dance.
That booty.
This is an Emerson poll taken from August 17th to August 18th with a sample of 500 likely voters and a margin of error of 4.6. Coming up first to the stage, he is your Republican candidate, and to be totally honest with you, we don't really know his first name, but we know that he represents 11% of those who were spoken to, and his name is In second, making his debut, he's fiscally conservative and socially dank. Give a big round of applause for the Libertarian candidate, Gary. But what is Aleppo? Johnson! But your headliner, representing 39% of the vote, your Democratic challenger, Mark That is Heinrich 39, Johnson 21, Rich 11, according to the first poll taken by Emerson. In this race. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at your emails. This is, of course, where you can write into the show at theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Andrew wrote, "Hey, Justin, just writing in to say that the emergency episode of PX3 was great. You and your show were the first thing I thought of when the news was breaking today, and I wanted to hear your take. I checked my feed, and there you were. You killed it. Thanks, sir." Hey, go ahead and get it. If you guys didn't listen to it, you want to hear my first reactions. The emergency show ran about as long as this show. Is certainly a little looser. I wound up taking questions from the chat, but if you guys like that, let me know. I'll be happy to do more of them. AC wrote in, "I had an inspired notion just now and felt compelled to share it with you on your fine podcast. 4 words, Pence 2019 bumper sticker." Sean wrote, "The one thing that I haven't heard reported about Omarosa is her background. Slate did a great podcast on her life. Her father was murdered, but more pertinent, she worked in Al Gore's office in the Clinton White House, where she was also claimed to be a terrible employee. I had zero idea what her background was. It is interesting that even if she were a terrible federal employee once before, she is much more qualified to be a senior staff member than, let's say, Jared and Ivanka. She doesn't have a PhD and claims she only needed to defend her dissertation. It would be interesting to see the cliff notes of her dissertation." You know, this kind of does bring up an interesting element of who should be serving in politics. Should everybody, it can't always be people who are serving in politics had to serve in politics before. Normally, that's kind of the beauty of our federal system, is that you can make your way up. But I'm never really against randos getting into the control room. I think it's fine. I think it's good every once in a while we shake shit up a little bit. And to be honest, Jared and Ivanka, I don't know. All the shit that Jared and Ivanka are for, I think is probably the least controversial shit of the Trump administration, right? Alfredo writes, "I just got your newsletter and I saw that the Senate unanimously approved the right to a free press. But what is the press? Is the press something we recognize when we see it? Could somebody like Alex Jones say he's part of the press and sue Facebook, Twitter, and whoever for kicking him off? Do private companies have the right to prevent the free press from using their platforms? What does it mean, quote, right to a free press, unquote? Don't we already have a free press? Doesn't mean we can't sue the press for slander because it would hinder their freedom." So many questions. And by the way, Alfredo, I think that they are really good questions. I tend to err on the side of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube are allowed to put whoever they want on. I think that we, as users, should continue to demand explanations as to why they make the decisions that they make, not because we need to champion for the people that are kicked off, but more because I think understanding the ground rules of your platform is something that's important. And looking at living examples of why people are kicked off as opposed to general guidelines as to, well, they violated this rule, I think is very important. IMO. As for the question of whether or not Alex Jones is part of the press, I would probably err on the side that he is. I kind of, I tend to think that when you are defining a free press, then you have to, what you have to do is understand that there should be some ground rules of who's allowed to tell the truth and be the press, okay? First rule, can you do 50 push-ups? I'm going to start doing them right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm still on the air right now, and I am banging these out, and they are impressive. Let me just tell you that. I like to do a push-up. I eat a steak and do a push-up at the same time. I'm eating a steak right now, and I'm on air. And if I might say, this is a really fucking good push-up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to our Christian affiliates that I'm eating a steak while I'm doing a push-up and cursing on the air. I know that that's not something that they like to hear. But yet it is something that you will be able to do as soon as you start buying my fish oil. Head on over to fishoilrus.infowars/store, and you are going to get the best fish oil you have ever seen in your entire life. And you folks, you'll be able to look into this fish oil, and you'll be able to tell it's the best. If you look into my fish oil, and you don't see a bright and beautiful future, I'm going to say return it. You're going to have to pay the full price to return it too, but I'm going to guarantee you, in that fish oil, you will see yourself happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise, running as fast as you can, as fast as anyone has ever run. You'll be able to run as fast as a gazelle. Find a gazelle and race it once you eat my fish oil. You eat it. You don't drink it. You chomp it, even though it's liquid. Break your teeth eating my fish oil. Tear your teeth to break. Look your teeth in the face and say, God damn it, you Chi-Com sympathizing son of a bitches, you will not break while I eat Alex Jones's fish oil.
Politics, 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 politics.
That's about it for us. Email theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Chop Killers. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. A reminder, if you got Amazon Prime, you can support this show for free by heading on over. Just Google Twitch Prime and look up how you can link your Amazon Prime account with a Twitch account, either new or one that you'll create. Head on over to my channel, twitch.tv/Justin R. Young. And you will be able to subscribe to my channel for free. Very important. Gives me money, costs you nothing, and that is use it or lose it money. If you're not using it every month, then it goes away, and I'm calling dibs. That about wraps it up for us. Download archived episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. Some shows talk about politics. Some shows talk about politics. And others talk about politics, man, but this is the only show on the internet that talks about all three. See y'all next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.